What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat basketball channel. My name is Amir. Before I get into today's video, I just want to thank everybody for their continued support. So, if you could please subscribe to the channel, it would mean a lot to me. If you could like, comment, and share this video, that would also help me with the YouTube algorithm. So, thank you again for your continued support. So, for today's video, I'm a little late to the party as other channels have already created videos on this topic or this article that came out a week and a half ago. And so in this article, um, even Ira Winderman, a reporter for the Miami Heat, had a quote regarding this um, rumor. But there was a rumor out there saying that Giannis might be requesting a trade potentially in the future. And folks are saying that the Miami Heat could be in play for Giannis and that the Damian Lillard trade could jeopardize the potential of the Miami Heat acquiring Giannis. So basically, Giannis had some sort of interview or podcast with, I think it was like the New York Times. And Giannis said that he wants to stay with the Bucks. He said in the past that he wants to be like Kobe Bryant or Dirk, where he stayed on a single team for his entire career. He would like to play for the Bucks for 20 years plus and win multiple championships. And he said, like I'm loyal, and that would be an ideal scenario. But in order to stay on the same team for that long of a time frame, they need to be competing for championships. He doesn't want to just win one championship. He was the Finals MVP when the Bucks beat the Suns 2 years ago in 2021, and they haven't been able to get back to the finals. We know the Miami Heat, the eighth seed last season, beat the Bucks in the first round last year, which was awesome. And we also beat them in the bubble 3-4 years ago as well, when we were the fifth seed and they were the first seed again. And so the Bucks have been dominating the regular season, and they've had one championship in the past 3 to 4 years. And that's been like the time frame that Giannis has ascended as one of the best players in the NBA. At one point, I think he was, but right now, I'd probably put him at like number two, maybe number three at worst. I have Joker definitely ahead of him, and then maybe Steph Curry. I don't know, maybe him then Steph Curry at this point. But nonetheless, Giannis has been an MVP, Finals MVP, All Star, one of the best players, two-way players in the NBA. He's called the Greek Freak for a reason, and so he's mentioned that before he signs an extension with the Bucks, which he's up for an extension. So he's able to do that, I think, within the next few weeks. So he's under contract for 2 more seasons, so up until the 2025 season, and he can go for an extension this off season, before this season starts, and extend that for an astronomical amount. He's only 28 years old still, and so he has a player option for the 2025 season if he doesn't sign this extension. But again, before they go that route, he said that the team needs to stay competitive, add some different pieces, because right now they have a great core, and that core though is getting much older. And Giannis again is still young; he's 28, he's still within his prime, and his teammates who are great, who helped him win a championship, are getting older. They're all in their 30s. So Middleton is 32. He's been injury prone the last few seasons. He's been dealing with those knee injuries, has had off-season surgery, and he doesn't look exactly the same. And we know players, once they get to like that 32, 33 range, they typically only have like a year or two left in their prime. And so he's starting to get derailed by injuries. Drew Holiday's 33 years old, who's obviously a really good player, but again, he's becoming an aging point guard as well. And then Brook Lopez is 35 years old, so he's even older than those two. And he was Defensive Player of the Year last year, so he hasn't slowed down completely. But Giannis knows the window for this team is probably 2 more years, realistically. And so that's within the confines and the timeline of his existing contract. So he doesn't want to say, let's sign a 5 to 6 year deal and not have the ability to compete. And I assume they would never go through a rebuild if they have Giannis, but they might not be top in the East if they lose a Middleton and a Drew Holiday and aren't able to replace them. Kind of like how Portland has not been able to really replace players like, this is longer ago, but LaMarcus Aldridge. They haven't been able to replace more recently CJ McCollum and players like Josh Hart, who's just a role player. But nonetheless, Giannis doesn't want to make a long term commitment. And so there have been reports, rumors that, the Heat are always on the hunt for a superstar, a whale. Pat Riley, always does a good job of pursuing these types of players. Hasn't been as successful as us Heat fans have wanted him to be until that Jimmy Butler trade, which a lot of folks on the Heat side say that's not Pat that was able to pull in Jimmy Butler. It was Dwayne Wade who built a relationship with him in Chicago after the Heat drove him away due to contract issues in the past. But nonetheless, the Heat are always in the market whenever a KD, a Mitchell, a Dame, whoever, you name it, Kyrie hits the market, we're always in play. So this report was saying that, if we go after Dame, we're going to have to trade draft picks. Tyler Hero, who also is a native of Milwaukee. And so if we do that, we're not going to have assets for Giannis if he does request a trade. That's a big if. One, he hasn't. Two, he doesn't want to leave. He said he wants to play for one franchise as long as he can compete for championships. So this article is kind of stupid in my opinion, honestly, because I don't think Giannis is going to request a trade. Um, that's just my opinion. And so it doesn't make sense for the Miami Heat to wait and put those eggs in that basket when Damian Lillard has already requested a trade and said he only wants to go to Miami. And we all know that the teams are going to come together closer to training camp. So by the end of September, I think a trade is going to happen because that's when the teams will get together and start negotiating. But anyway, this article is saying that, if you trade Hero and those picks, you won't have anything for Giannis. And I think that's just ridiculous because, again, he's not going to get traded. And if we do trade for Giannis, we have to trade a hell of a lot more than Tyler Hero and draft picks. So Giannis is 28. He's not 33 like Dame. He's also almost 7 foot, and he is also a magnificent power forward and one of the best players in the NBA, if not the best player in the NBA. Dame is a top 15 player, and he's almost outside of his prime. Giannis looks like he still has plenty of prime in front of him because he's still a super freak athlete. And yeah, I think he'd be way more impactful in theory than Damian Lillard. And the longevity of this would be that he could play alongside a Jimmy Butler and be a part of Jimmy's timeline. But then also we can also do a rebuild around that and compete for other championships with Giannis long term, not just over the next 1 to 3 years, I would say, with Jimmy Butler, as he's 33 years old, going to be 34 soon. So unrealistic because if we do again trade for Giannis, it's going to be Bam, it's going to be Hero, it's going to be Caleb Martin, it's going to be all the draft picks, it's going to be Kyle Lowry. We're going to gut the entire team, so we're going to lose all of our depth, and we're going to lose two of our best players in Bam and Hero. So it's going to be Giannis and Jimmy. Does that make sense? Can they play next to each other? Essentially, are they semi redundant? Um, kind of to a certain degree. Of course, obviously Giannis is way better, but I don't know if that's the right fit necessarily. And then we lose all that depth. So then we have to sign a bunch of mid-level, or veteran level contracts on the cheap and just to fill in the rest of that roster. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you guys wait for Giannis and trade for Giannis, who's arguably the best player in the NBA? Or do you guys still want to keep the pursuit and our foot on the gas for Damian Lillard? So, in my opinion, which I think is crazy, it's more short sighted than long term, would be trading for Damian Lillard over Giannis. And few reasons. One is because Damian Lillard would be a better fit for the Miami Heat. And pairing him next to a Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo would be perfect because we need a point guard, we need a scoring guard, we need someone who's able to spread the floor like Damian, and also a playmaker who can set up Bam Adebayo, and someone who can also again create space and gravity so that Jimmy and Bam can operate in the paint and in the mid range. And so even though Damian's 33 and much older, still think is a better fit for this team. The key, though, also is saying that he's going to help Bam Adebayo. So with Giannis, there is no Bam. With Damian, you still get Bam because of his age, because of his contract, because he doesn't want to go anywhere else. We're not going to have to trade nearly as much as we would for, again, for Giannis. Giannis, we traded the whole team except for Jimmy. For Damian Lillard, we keep Bam Adebayo, we keep Jimmy, we create a big three versus just a big two. So in my opinion, I still rather have Dame, even though he would probably help us compete and contend just for 2 seasons, maybe three max, in my opinion, depending on how he and Jimmy ages, because Bam is still 26 years old and super young. So he could definitely be an anchor on both sides of the ball. But I prefer Damian Lillard. I think he gives us our best opportunity to win a championship as a team within the next few seasons versus trading for Giannis and trying to figure out what pieces we could put together and string together alongside him and Jimmy. And I don't know what that fit would look like, honestly, because they both can't shoot and they both like to attack and play in that um, mid post. So I don't think it's the best fit necessarily, even though Giannis is one of the best players and if one of the best players wants to go to your team, I think you do almost everything in your power to get that player and acquire that player. But I just think from a fit perspective, Damian Lillard fits the Miami Heat better. And so that's my preference. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you guys rather have Dame, or do you think the Miami Heat should wait and see if Giannis magically says he wants to be traded and also has to magically say he wants to go to the Heat? Because if Giannis says I want to be traded, everybody's going to go after him, and we're going to have to give up even more. So if there's multiple teams involved, if he says the Miami Heat, we still have to trade all the players I mentioned: Bam, all the picks, Tyler Hero, Caleb Martin, all the expiring contracts, Jaquez, um, Jovic, um, and whoever else, basically. So either way, the Heat are screwed. Would lose everybody for that piece. I mean, I'm sure Bucks would include some other crappy contracts back to make the money work, but they would take all of our young assets, all of our draft capital, all of our best players. So I don't think it's the best idea, but who knows? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Would you rather have Dame, or would you hypothetically rather have Giannis? Thanks for watching. Talk to you guys soon.